Okay, we are starting on our last chapter here of trigonometry. And trig 1, we're going to break these into different trig sections. So this is going to be trig 1. And the first thing that we're going to do with trig 1 is that we are going to learn our unit circle. Now, this unit circle is something that you are going to be doing over and over and over again until you get it to be 100%. So let's start with, on the unit circle, it is a big circle on an XY axis. There would be X, there would be Y. And the word unit implies that the radius is all 1. And what we need to know from our trig circle is obviously we need to know our quadrants. There's quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are things that we should already know. The x-axis is always our beginning point. It is our 0 degrees. And when we go counterclockwise, we get positive angles. And when we go clockwise, we get negative angles. And there are angles all the way around in both directions, positively, negatively. Quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. We are going to be focusing on what I call the major angles. And those are going to be at 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. Now keep in mind, I'm not pulling out a protractor here. I just have an idea of where they might be at. I definitely need to know that 60 degrees is about here, that it's not down here, and then it's not in a different quadrant. We have to know at least a relationship where things are. And as a matter of fact, you're going to know the relationship of all of these in every single quadrant. So going around, keep going at this. This would be 120. This is the next 45, 90, so that makes it 135. So 120 becomes 150. And then over here we are at 180 degrees. Keep going. We get 210. We get 225. 240. 270. 300, 315, 330, and back here to 360. You need to know all of these measurements, where their locations are, approximates, whatever, and that they go the other direction. Now, I'm not going to have you go through and list that this is negative 30, negative 45, negative 60, negative 90, but you do need to know that that is what their representations are. When it comes to our degrees, we also have a second kind of measurement called a radian measurement. Now, a radian is just that. It's a different type of measurement. And we need to be able to switch between degrees and radians. And the way we do that is with its ratio. A degree is to 180 as a radian is to pi. So I know my degrees. I should know my degrees. And I can find any degree measurements, radian measurement, by using this ratio and relationship. So let's just start over here with 30 degrees. If I have 30 degrees, it's related to the 180. What is its radian measurement to pi? Well, radians, we're going to leave in terms of pi. So all you have to do is pull the pi over and reduce the fraction. So 30 over 180 is actually 1/6, and pull the pi, and we never write 1 pi. 1 is a coefficient, so we never do that. So it's just pi over 6. So I would come back up here, and I would say 30 degrees is pi over 6. Now let's look at how that relates actually to the circle here. If 30 and we're comparing 180 to pi. Here's a kicker. 180 is pi. That's how you get this relationship. 180 must be pi if I'm going to compare degrees and radians. And it is. 180 is to pi. Pi is 3.14. We don't care about that numerical measurement. Right now, we want to care that it's just a piece of the pie, so to speak. So here, 30 of them, 30 goes into 180 6 times. There are 6 30 degrees in my pi. Here's 130 up to 60. That's 2 30s. So I'm going to say it's 2 pi's out of 6. Then 90 is 3 pi's out of 6 because that's my next 30. The next 30, 120 makes 4 pi over 6. Then I get 150, 5 pi over 6. And then I'm coming all the way over here to 6 pi over 6. Well, that reduces to pi. So do all these others. But we'll come back to them as to them reducing. So let's jump up to the 60 degrees. We'll come back to the 45. It's just we want to work on how these 30s and 60s work. So here I have 60 is to 180. Well, 60 is to 180 is actually 1/3. But now, remember, we're kicking over this pi. So it's really pi thirds. 60 takes 3 of them to make a pi. Well, let's come up here. If I reduce this to 2 pi over 6, that reduces to pi over 3. There's 1/3 of the pi. The next one, 60 and 60, well, that's 2 of the pi thirds. That's the second one of the 60s. And then come over here to the third one, 3 pi over 3 reduces to 180, or to pi. So you don't have to necessarily remember this relationship if you can remember how they relate to pi's. There are 3 60s in 180. Therefore, every 60 is 1/3. There's the 1/3, there's the 2/3, and there's the 3/3. That's the 1/6, the 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, 6/6. All right? And then, so the 90, how many 90s are in 80? 2 of them. Well, look, it reduces. Pi over 2. That's half of the pi. There's the whole pi. Okay? Now let's go to the 45s. On the 45s, we have 45 over 180. Again, we're kicking over the pi. But 45 over 180 becomes pi over 4. Well, because 45 degrees, 2 pi over 4, well, that reduces to pi over 2. 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, and that reduces to pi. So all of these are part of the pi's. As long as you can remember that relationship, you should always be able to transfer stuff. But when in doubt, you are welcome to use this relationship. This relationship continues. All right, I'm going to start with the 90s up here. So here we had 90 was 1 pi out of the 2's. Out of 2, it's half of it. Okay, half of the pi. So pi over 2 becomes 2 pi over 2. And 2 pi over 2 reduces. Well, the next 90 down here must be 3 pi over 2. The next 90 comes up here to 4 pi over 2, which reduces to 2 pi. All right, let's go back, continue with the 45s. Pi over 4. The next 45 at 90 is 2 pi over 4, which reduced. 3 pi over 4, which stays. 4 pi over 4, which reduces. So the next middle is 5 pi over 4. Then we come again, 6 pi over 4, which reduces. 7 pi over 4, which does not reduce. And then 8 pi over 4, which reduces to 2 pi. The 60s, we know this is 1 of the thirds. This makes 2 of the thirds. And this is 3 of the thirds. So the next 60 is 4 of the thirds. Then we have another 60, which is 5 of the thirds. And then we're back over here, 6 of the thirds, which is 2 pi. And then to the 30 degrees, pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, which reduced, 3 pi over 6 reduced, 4 pi over 6 reduced, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6. So the next 30 must be 7 pi over 6. 8 pi over 6 reduced. 9 pi over 6 reduced. 10 pi over 6 reduce. 11 pi over 6. And 12 pi over 6 reduces. You are going to be responsible for knowing every major degree, 30, 45, 60s, 90s, in every quadrant, in every degree and radian. Knowing the negatives go backwards, I'm not going to have you list those, but you are going to be given a blank unit circle, and you're going to have 1 minute. Here's what the circle looks like. It's not a mystery. Here's what the unit circle looks like, and you need to be able to tell me every one of these degree measurements in less than a minute. Degree and radian. Starting at 0 degrees, going around to 360. Starting at 0 radians, and going around to 2 pi. Now you don't put 0 pi, it's just 0. Because 0 times anything is 0. But 0, pi over 6, pi 4, all the way around in reduced form, always, over to 2 pi. And you're going to be doing that until you get 100% at it. But this is the circle, and you have 1 minute to be able to fill it in with every degree and radian measurement. You need to be able to go back and forth between degrees and radians without any hesitations. All right, and that's going to be day 1 of trig 1.